Hello everyone, back to the channel Civil Engineering Classes. In this video, we will be covering another basic building material, that is stone. In this video, we will see the different classification of stones, characteristics of good stone, testing of stone, and the topic, that is the miscellaneous topics related to stone, will be covered in the next video. Initially, I was planning to make a single video out of all this, but it's exceeding 30 minutes, so I have cut short the video. So let's see till the testing of stone. First thing is about the classification of stone. Stone can be classified based on their origin, that is a geological classification, based on their physical characteristics, that is physical classification, based on their chemical characteristics, that is a chemical classification. First one is based on their origin or the geological classification. Based on the geological classification, the stones can be classified in three ways, that is igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. Let's see them one by one. First one is igneous rocks. The inside portion of the earth's surface we know is at a very high temperature, which causes the fusion of these rocks, and at that temperature the rocks are present as in a molten form, which is called as magma. So the igneous rocks are formed by the solidification of this magma when this magma comes out to the earth's surface through some cracks or some weak portions. The igneous rocks are basically the primary rocks because all other rocks are formed from these igneous rocks. It is unstratified in nature. We will see this term later in this video. Next one is their eruptive rocks because they are formed by the eruption of the magma out to the earth's surface. The igneous rocks examples are granite, basalt, trap, and dolerite. The igneous rocks can basically classified into three classes. First one is plutonic rocks, hyperbasalt rocks, and volcanic rocks. Let's see them one by one. First one is plutonic rocks. Plutonic rocks are also called as intrusive rocks because these types of rocks are formed due to the cooling of the magma at a larger depth from the earth's surface. Since they are at a larger depth from the earth's surface, the cooling process is very slow. Thus, the rock will possess a coarse-grained structure. The igneous rocks which are used in the building industries are basically of plutonic type. The example is granite. Next type of igneous rocks is hyperbasalt rocks. These are formed due to the cooling of magma at a relatively shallower depth from the earth's surface. The cooling is somewhat more quicker than that of the plutonic rocks, so they will possess a finely grained crystalline structure. Example is dolerite. Next one is volcanic rocks. These are the rocks which are formed due to the pouring of the magma at the earth's surface itself. So since they are pouring on the earth's surface, the cooling will be very rapid than the previous two cases. So very thin or fine grained stones are formed. Example is basalt. So that was all about the igneous rocks. Next type of rocks based on their geological classification is sedimentary rocks. These rocks are formed by the deposition of the products of the weathering of some pre-existing rocks. These products of the weathering are taken away by the agents like wind, rain, water, etc. to different places that causes, and the deposition or to that places that causes the formation of sedimentary rocks over time. They are mostly aqueous, that means which contain water, and stratified. The main examples are limestone, sandstone, dolomite, gypsum, etc. last one is lignite. Lignite is also an example of sedimentary rock. Next one is metamorphic rock. These types of rocks are formed by the change in character of a pre-existing rock. When the igneous and the sedimentary rocks are subjected to heat and pressure, they will change their character and lead to the formation of a new type of rocks. This process of change is called as the process of metamorphism. The first one is limestone, which is a sedimentary rocks, get converted to marble. Shale will converted to slate. Sandstone will converted to quartzite. Quartzite, sorry for the mistake, it is quartzite. Sorry for the mistake. Sandstone get converted to quartzite when they are subjected to metamorphism. So the examples of the metamorphic rocks are marble, slate and quartzite. There are different processes of metamorphism. There are basically 4 processes of metamorphism. First one is a thermal metamorphism. That is, the heat is the predominant factor that causes the process of metamorphism. From the name itself we can understand that. Next one is cataclysmic metamorphism. At the surface of Earth, we know the temperature is comparatively low. Thus, the metamorphism is brought about by direct pressure only. That kind of metamorphism is called as cataclysmic metamorphism. Next one is dynamo-thermal metamorphism. When we go inside the Earth's surface, there will be a rise in temperature. So, in dynamo-thermal metamorphism, there is a combination of heat and the stress which bring out the changes in rocks. Such a metamorphism is known as dynamo-thermal metamorphism. And the last type of metamorphism is plutonic metamorphism. The stress provided by the upward soil is effective only up to a certain depth. After a particular depth, the rock will behave like a plastic material. Due to this plasticity of the rocks, the stress will not exist, but the stress will convert it to a uniform pressure. So, at a very greater depth, there will be a uniform action of both the pressure and the heat. This type of metamorphism is known as plutonic metamorphism. This happens in very greater depth. So let's sum up that types of metamorphism. First one is thermal metamorphism, where heat is only acting. Next one is cataclysmic, where pressure is only acting. Next one is dynamo-thermal metamorphism, where the stress and the heat both were acting. And the last one is plutonic metamorphism, that happened in the very greater inner core of the earth, where the metamorphism is happened by the uniform pressure and heat. So we are done with all the geological classification now. Coming to the physical classification. First one is stratified rocks. Stratified rocks means they have certain planes of stratification or cleavage such that the rocks will split easily upon that plane. Mostly sedimentary rocks are stratified. For example, like sandstone, limestone, shale, etc. Next one is unstratified rocks. Most of the volcanic rocks, that is igneous in origin, are unstratified. From the name itself, we can know what is unstratified. They do not possess any planes of stratification or cleavage. For example, like granite, basalt, etc. Next one is foliated rocks. Foliated rocks means they will split in a very definite direction only. Let's see the figures. Examples of the foliated rocks are quartzite and marble. This is a figure of a stratified rock. We know there are certain planes along which the rocks will split very easily. This is called as a stratified rock. Here it is given the figure of a foliated and non-foliated rocks. You can see the difference from the figure itself. Next one is the chemical classification of rocks. This is very simple. According to this classification, the stones can be classified as siliceous rocks, argillaceous rocks and calcareous rocks. From the name itself, we can see what is the chemical content of the particular rock. First one is argillaceous. Argillaceous means the clay content predominates. They are maybe dense or compact or sometimes very soft, for example, like slate, laterite, etc. These all are the examples of argillaceous rocks. Next one is siliceous rocks. Siliceous rocks means silica is the predominant content. They are comparatively more hard and durable than the argillaceous rocks. Examples are granite, quartzite, etc. Last one is calcareous rocks, in which the calcium carbonate is the predominant content. Limestone, marbles are the examples of calcareous rocks. Next topic, so we have done with all the classification of stone, their geological, physical and chemical classification. Next topic is the characteristic of a good stone. Let's see. The crushing strength of the good stone to be used as a building material should be greater than 100 Newton per mm square. Next one is about the hardness. Hardness is measured by a term called as coefficient of hardness. If the hardness coefficient is greater than 17, it can be used for road works. If its value is between 14 to 17, it is of medium hardness. If it is less than 14, it has a very poor hardness, that is of no use. Next point is the water absorption should be less than 5%. If in any case the water absorption is greater than 10%, this particular stone have to be rejected. Then coming to the specific gravity, that's a very important point. The specific gravity of the stone to be used for building construction should be greater than 2.7. So that's all about the characteristics of a good stone. Next thing is about the testing of stone. In order to find out if the stones are useful in the building work or in the road work or used for the facing of the walls, we need to test the stones for their different purpose. Let's see the test one by one. First one is a compressive strength test or the crushing strength test, which is given in IS code 1121. This is the stone sample of size 40 mm or 50 mm cube is taken and it is crushed in compression testing machine. The load is given in a rate of 40 Newton per mm square per minute. We know the crushing strength of a stone is the load at which the sample will get crushed or that will fail. So that's all about the crushing test. Next one is the hardness test. Hardness test is basically done on Dory's testing machine. For this we have to take a sample of a cylinder stone that having a diameter of 25 mm and height 25 mm, same height and same diameter. And this is taken to the Dory's testing machine and it is rotated at a speed of about 28 rpm, and after 1000 revolution the specimen is taken out and we have to weigh the specimen, and hardness is expressed by a term called as coefficient of hardness that we have seen already. That is, coefficient of hardness equal to 20 minus loss of weight of the stone in grams divided by 3. By this we will see if it is suitable for the road work or not suitable for the road work. The next test is the attrition test. For this we have to take the stone sample of about size 60 mm. It is tested in DeWells attrition testing machine This test is basically for finding the suitability of the particular stone for the road construction. The result of this test will indicate the resisting power of the stone against the grinding action under traffic. So this sample have to be put in the dual saturation testing machine, and it is rotated at a 30 rpm rate and taken out after certain period and have to be sieved under 1.5 mm sieve, and we have to find the percentage wear. Next test is the impact test. For the impact test, the sample taken is about a cylinder of 25 mm dia and 25 mm height, and a hammer of 2 kg is taken to give the impact. We know the toughness is the resistance towards large impact. The number of blows that is required to break the cylinder is taken as the toughness index value. Next one is the durability test. It is mentioned in IS 1126. For this we have to select a cylinder of diameter 50 cm and height 50 cm. This test is also called as crystallization test. After taking the sample, we have to put that in a 14% solution of sodium sulfate for about 2 hours, and then we are taking it out and weighed, and the weight difference have to be noted. Thus the durability test is done. Sometimes instead of sodium sulfate, calcium sulfate can also be used. Next is an important test, that is Smith test. Smith test is done to find out the presence of soluble matter or some earthy submatter in the stones. Likewise, we have seen in the brick that the organic matter is very harmful for the strength purpose of the brick. Here also in the stones, this earthy matter of the organic matter have to be removed from the stones. So the test to find out their presence is called as Smith's test. Then certain other basic tests are there, like the water absorption test. In the water absorption test, what we will do is that we have to take a 50 gram of stone as a cube, and its actual weight have to be recorded, and then it is put to water for about 24 hours, and then it is taken out and the surface water have to be wiped off, and then it is weighed again. We will see the weight difference and how much water is absorbed. We will see. We have already seen what is the limit of the water absorption. If it is greater than 5%, we don't have to use that particular stone. Next one is freezing and thawing test. It is also a very basic test in which we will see the shrinkage and expansion of the stone when it is exposed to a freezing temperature of about 12 degrees Celsius for about 24 hours. Then last test is acid test. Acid test means we will treat the stone with certain acids, like it is placed in a solution of hydrochloric acid having a 1% strength for about 7 days, and we will agitate the solution at certain intervals. A good building stone must maintain their sharp edges and keep its surface free from any powder at the end of the test. That is what is known as acid test. So that's all about the testing of the stones. So in this video we have covered the different classification of stones, testing of stones, and the characteristic of a good building stone. Hope you all like the video. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up. If you wish to watch more videos from civil engineering, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.